Greetings, my good bitches. The name's Francis, QueenCokeFrancis. I'm an editor, Twitch streamer, drag artist, and I'm here because I have a lifelong dream of starting a Twitter feud with Dennis Miller. Not including this one, I have made 50 YouTube videos so far. A big chunk of them involve observing, critiquing, and reacting to the right wing's attempts at comedy. In fact, much of my channel growth could be attributed to the fact that apparently a lot of people really like watching a very tired drag queen torture themselves with the 12 millionth attack helicopter joke. From the Babylon Bee to the Fox Nation stand-up specials to the Daily Wire's aggressively queer-coded cartoons. As long as they keep this up, I'll still have a career. Every time I go to Ralph's and I buy 2 avocados instead of just 1, I smile and I think to myself, thanks, Daily Wire. But long before all of these modern examples, before the Babylon Bee, before Mr Birchum, even before An American Carol all the way back in 2008, there was a little nugget of a lot of cringe on Fox News called the half-hour news hour. Now, clearly Fox News' debut into the comedy scene has only gotten stronger over time, especially with Greg Gutfeld, their current resident comedian. Greg Gutfeld is Fox's most powerful weapon against all that unfunny, woke, liberal garbage. Ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between, I present to you Greg Gutfeld, the icon of conservative comedy.
It feels as if we as a society have given up. Look at the cities and entertainment and travel. Hell, we don't even expect our models on the cover of swimsuit rags to be in shape, much less thin. Children aren't property, but they are your children. That's why you say these are my kids. Well, unless your baby mama is a stripper and your dad is Joe Biden, then it's I've never met those women and the children aren't mine. So apparently we have less pronounced jaws than previous generations. Guess he's never watched the WNBA.
And the crowd goes wild! But Fox's imprint on comedy comes from humble beginnings all the way back in 2007, with the debut of this sketch comedy show that's called, as I mentioned, the half-hour news hour. In a world of daily shows and Colbert reports, be the lowest rated show in Metacritic history that you wish to see in the world. Be the show whose official IMDb logline is, I'm not kidding, Fox News's failed attempt to create their own daily show. The half-hour news hour featured a star-studded cast including Jocelyn from Schitt's Creek, this guy, aside from Dennis Miller trying really hard to fit in with all of his new friends at Fox News, they weren't exactly able to recruit a whole lot of comedic talent for this show. Thankfully, they had a bunch of friends who they just happened to think were funny enough to carry a sketch comedy show, like Rush Limbaugh and Coulter. And is that Dennis Prager I see? Every time I see Dennis Prager, my ass just slam shut. It's a really long story, but one time I was actually in the same room as Dennis Prager. It was a whole week before my ass went back to its original position. I should have sued. That's an American tradition. Thanks to some dedicated internet historians, several clips from this relic have been uploaded to this very site. And as you can see, only a couple of them actually bothered to turn off their dislikes. So get ready for a whole lot of cringy performances, badly placed laugh tracks, and the same jokes that the Babylon Bee is still telling to this day. But before we get into it, if you are a fan of watching a very tired drag queen talk about nerd shit forever, I ask that you please call up all of your bestest buddies and tell them about your awesome idea for a new sketch comedy show. The cameras start rolling, and you realize in that moment that even though they were the funniest guys at the office, they don't actually have any real comedy experience. So in an act of desperation, get those ratings you've been craving by going ahead and unzipping your pants and dick slapping those like and subscribe buttons as hard as you can. So to kick this off, let's check out their public service announcement at the beginning, or as the kids call it nowadays, a trigger warning.
The half-hour news hour may offend the following: the left, the far left, in fact, anyone standing to the left, gay penguins, people who voted for Democrats, people who know Democrats, gay penguins.
Now, to be fair, obviously a lot of the referential jokes in this will be dated by default because because this came out in 2007. So that is something to keep in mind as we move forward. But I remember 2007 so vividly. So as far as recalling sensory memories from my past, it's actually very easy for me to put myself back in Baby Bat Francis's combat boots in the year of our Lord 2007. So I can say with all certainty, gay penguins. Ha! Remember that? The gay penguins? I think the right is still talking about those gay penguins. As you can see, very little has changed in the sense that the right likes to put an emphasis on trying to offend the other side rather than trying to actually be funny. But the jokes are so unbelievably inoffensive and milquetoast that it ends up just affecting absolutely no one. I think that's kind of beautiful. So before we get into the bulk of the show, which mainly features these two idiots, let's take a look at the very first clip that I saw of the half-hour news hour. There's a running joke that the president is none other than famous lung cancer victim Rush Limbaugh. Remember him? The guy who had a segment on his radio show where he rang a bell and played music and celebrated every time a gay person died from AIDS?
As president, I hereby promise you, the American people, 4 years or more of Commander-in-Chief excellence. Not a moment too soon.
So something you'll notice in almost all of these is that the laugh track is working overtime, mainly due to the lack of actual jokes, but it's also used in like the most nonsensical areas. And sometimes it's so loud you can't even hear what's being said underneath. That's just a production mistake. You know, those things tend to happen with lower budget production company. Oh, wait. So making her sitcom entrance as the vice president here is Ann Coulter, who, as you may already know, went on to be a roasting champion after this show kickstarted her career.
I once thought Pete Davidson was just like Obama, biracial goofball who ruined a once beloved institution, but it turns out I was wrong. Pete's not biracial.
Good one.
And
You, like to join me in a cigar?
isn't the White House a smoke-free zone?
Not anymore.
So much for the tolerant left. Am I right, folks?
Stay tuned to the half-hour news hour.
And if you don't, we'll invade your countries, kill your leaders, and convert you to Christianity.
Dude, how did Ann Coulter just deliver the funniest part of that whole sketch? Like, it's not actually that funny, but it is poking fun at themselves. There is a glimmer of self-awareness in it, right? Here's another sketch with these two. Let's see if she steals the show here too.
The one they said couldn't be done, Britney Spears is wearing panties again.
America thanks you, sir.
Well, thank you. It wasn't easy.
Ah yes, another one of these. Again, remember, this came out in 2007, but not only is the joke not funny, it was done like 1,000 times that year already by like everyone. This isn't the last of the Britney jokes they did, by the way. Not that it's impossible to joke about her, but once again, what does it always come down to? Who is the butt of the joke? Does this joke punch up at anything, or is it kicking someone when they're already down? I'm gonna use South Park as a comparison a few times throughout this video because they actually managed to successfully skewer all of the things that the half-hour news hour failed at.
All right, Brett, let's try it from the top.
God, what a train wreck.
She must be stoned again.
This was arguably one of their darkest episodes, and it's also extremely poignant. But it's not making fun of Britney's obvious mental health crisis. It's making fun of the powers that be that caused it in the first place.
In my absence, Vice President Coulter here will be the leader of the free world.
Lay off the painkillers, Rush. You can't even pronounce her name properly.
Hello, Pentagon. This is Acting President Coulter. Are there any countries we haven't invaded yet? Canada.
Dude, again, the only somewhat functional joke in this whole sketch. If there's one thing I really resent this show for, it's how much it's made me have to simp for Ann Coulter. Not as much as Bill Maher does, though. Hang on, there's something I need to get off my chest real quick. New rule, I'd like to address an open letter to Bill Maher. Bill, no amount of bullying a successful young woman for caring about other people is going to make us forget about all the times you dumped inside Ann Coulter, okay?
Interrupting my working vacation with news regarding personnel changes in my administration. You freshen this up for me.
Sure.
I believe that'll require additional shaking, Madam Attorney General.
Of course, Mr. President.
You know what? I think I'm good on having to look at Rush Limbaugh for the rest of my life. So, let's move on, shall we? Please? Please, can we move on from this? Rest in power, big guy. I hope you know your grave is a gender-neutral bathroom. So now, let's get into the bulk of the show, which features these two idiots. The worst part of the show isn't the terrible writing or the cringy cameos, if you can believe it. Take a look at this banger and see if you can spot it for yourself.
During this week's Miss Universe pageant in Mexico City, Miss USA Rachel Smith was booed by a mostly Mexican audience. Probably because for the pageant's talent competition, she built a 700-mile fence.
No. My major psychotic f***ing hatred here is the cringy, smug facial expressions they make after every single joke, as if they're just so pleased with themselves. Like she really thought she ate with that. Or maybe they're just really good actors. The only thing worse than hers is this guy's.
There are reports that Fred Thompson's portrayal of a racist character on TV in the 80s could hurt his chances of being elected president today, particularly among voters unable to distinguish between television and real life.
Conservatives ragging on other people for not distinguishing fantasy from reality, that's rich.
Apple computer founder Steve Jobs says that if Al Gore runs for president next year, he will definitely win. Jobs says he knows this because he personally designed and built Al Gore's operating system. He's an Alpod. Alpod.
An Alpod. It's Al Gore. And an iPod. An Alpod. What can I say, folks? The jokes write themselves.
O.J. Simpson has decided not to sue the owner of a Kentucky restaurant who refused to serve him last week. However, he hasn't ruled out murdering the guy.
Alright, I'll admit it. That was pretty ballsy. To steal one of Norm Macdonald's jokes while he was still alive? These are the kind of risks that the woke left just never takes.
Chief Alinawek will no longer appear on the sidelines of the University of Illinois football games because his character is considered outdated and demeaning to Native Americans. The school's new athletic mascot will be a blackjack dealer.
Don't know about you guys, but I personally could use a break from cringing myself into a state of scoliosis, so let's check out some of their other sketches.
There was a time in America when certain youth outreach programs faced persecution and intolerance. The North American Man-Boy Love Association. But with the help of people like me, NAMBLA went to court and fought hard. Despite their ongoing legal battles, the North American Man-Boy Love Association is back to doing what it does best. I did that. On the ACLU.
So this is a reference to Curly v. NAMBLA, where the parents of a boy who was kidnapped and murdered accused NAMBLA, aka the North American Man-Boy Love Association, of being the cause. The ACLU represented NAMBLA on the grounds of protecting free speech, no matter how unpopular or in this case outright disgusting that speech may be. However you might feel about this case is up to you. I don't want to get too into it for the sake of time, but can we talk about how this supposedly topical show, which aired in 2007, is referencing something that happened 7 years prior? It's like how they still won't shut up about Jussie Smollett every time a hate crime happens, because that's their MO of being like, see, this thing happened once, therefore they're always wrong. It just also happened to be their punchline in this case. What? You didn't see it? The joke is right there. ACLU bad because thing from 7 years ago, no more question, move on.
There's an insidious new ailment sweeping this country that's a threat to our very way of life. It's called muffin top. When a woman's belly fat creeps over the top of her low-rise jeans. Working together, we can raise muffin top awareness and maybe someday put an end to this cruel and unsightly form of disfigurement.
Whoever this guy is absolutely right. We should have seen the warning signs. Just look where we are now. Yeah, that's super extra gross. What else we got? Oh, look, here he is again.
It is my belief that the attacks on the World Trade Center were perpetrated by 19 Middle Eastern Muslims who hijacked 4 jets and flew them into the trade towers and the Pentagon.
You know, he said his name out loud, and it's also right here on the screen, and I still can't remember it for the life of me.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, let's back up there, big guy, okay? These 19 Muslims know Dick Cheney how?
Am I missing something here? Are they implying that all the other major news networks thought 9/11 was a conspiracy? Do they think that all other news stations just automatically say the opposite of whatever Fox says, like no matter the topic? Is that why they believe all the conspiracy theories that Fox pushed? Oh.
You're a liberal Democrat, a committed feminist, and you know that America is ready for a woman president. But you're not sure that Hillary Clinton is that woman. You're anxious, conflicted. Maybe you're having trouble sleeping or you're experiencing mood swings. You want a woman to be president so badly that even Rosie O'Donnell is starting to make sense. You could be suffering from HAS, Hillary ambivalence syndrome, an anxiety disorder that affects up to 1 in 3 Democrats, which is why we developed OxyClinton.
So, this one. I think they started to cook with this one, but they didn't quite get there. Because even with the decent premise, they just kind of like shit all over it. This is how a lot of women and other people felt in 2008 and in 2016. They wanted a woman president, they just didn't want it to be Hillary Clinton. This could have worked if they went more into why people didn't want Hillary as a president. They could have even slipped in a few jabs at Bill's expense, but it just kind of devolved into, oh, women in their mood swings. They just want a woman president even if a man is better suited for the job. I don't know, I also wonder if maybe this bit got cut short because it was in like a compilation of sketches from this show, so maybe this isn't a completely fair assessment on my end. Whatever, I really don't care. Moving on.
Hi, I'm Dennis Prager, lover of fine Americana.
Did you guys hear something? I could have sworn I heard something. Also, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but the Babylon Bee just featured Prager in a sketch recently. Like, imagine getting into venture capitalism to try and prove to the world that you're funny, and then only being able to recruit Dennis Prager for your sketches. So this next sketch is another example of the laugh track being placed in just the most random areas, and also being so loud that you can't even hear what's being said underneath it. And it's especially frustrating for this sketch because the premise isn't terrible.
Are you buried in debt? Are you getting harassing phone calls and threatening letters?
Sometimes it seems like you'll never get out from under it. And that's where we come in. According to the leading environmental think tanks, unchecked carbon emissions have already started a cataclysmic chain reaction that will make the Earth uninhabitable in just 5 short years. Now you can restructure your debt into one balloon payment that doesn't come due for a full 6 years.
Earth is literally going to be destroyed in just 5 short years?
Kaboom.
What?
We're debt free? You won't owe a penny. So use the economic to take control of your financial future.
Hey kids, guess what? The world's gonna end in 5 years and we'll be debt free.
So listen, most of you watching are probably millennials or zoomers. You've heard this joke 1,000 times because we have told it 1,000 times. That said, as far as the sketches for the half-hour news hour go, this is definitely one of the better ones. Obviously, they're not going to go any further with this premise because that might turn into a critique on capitalism or climate change, and we certainly couldn't have that. But the laugh track is placed after lines that do not have jokes.
Sometimes it seems like you'll never get out from under it.
And is so loud you can't hear half the shit they say. Almost as if they don't actually understand the jokes themselves, so they don't know where to actually put the laugh tracks. Speaking of climate change, let's check in with our cringe-tastic hosts and all the wacky guests they feature.
Now, I've discovered that any problem facing the world today can be linked to global warming in 6 steps or less. I call it 6 degrees of global warming.
Higher gas prices, how can they be caused by global warming?
1, global warming causes Arctic ice to melt. 2, this causes polar bears to drown. 3, this causes an increase in seal population. 4, the seals bark all night, causing tanker crews to get less sleep. 5, this causes more oil spills, decreasing the supply of petroleum. And 6, this results in higher gas prices. Oh yes, I am good!
So, South Park made similar climate change denial jokes at the time too, right? In retrospect, they were wrong. Very wrong. But they admitted that they were wrong in later years, hence why they brought back Man Bear Pig in this context.
So they throw around bad science, bad taxidermy. People coming out of the woodwork are now experts on the subject. You can't just let people tell you that if you don't believe in Man Bear Pig, then you don't care about the world.
It is real!
You want to believe it's real, you go right on ahead, Susan.
No, it's right there! It's right there behind you!
What are we gonna do about it now, huh?
Fox News is the exact moment that this guy turns around and sees what's happening behind him, then turns back around and still insists that it isn't real. Oh, and Man Bear Pig was actually, funny.
Global warming causes Hurricane Katrina. 2, this distracts Dick Cheney from the debate about gay marriage.
Even the laugh track is exhausted. So this comedic genius in a bad Corey Haim wig returns for this sketch about 3 atheists and the books they wrote. I wonder if they'll all walk into a bar and die or something. Yuck.
That's what God is, a scam, a hoax.
Excuse me, but is Mr. Brightman all right?
Mr. Brightman?
He's dead.
God is a twisted invention of the human psyche. Sometimes bad things just randomly happen for no apparent reason.
Oh wow, how did I guess?
Craig Kurlander, who's here to promote his book, which is called I Hate God.
You probably already know that this is a work of fiction.
Mr. Kurlander.
You're right. I am a liar, and I am a sinner, and I need forgiveness from the Lord above. Let us hold hands in great fellowship.
Forgive me, I'm gonna use another South Park example because Go God Go is still to this day one of the better satirizations of atheism that I have personally seen.
The United Atheist Alliance! Oh, science, help us! Science? Damn you, Unified Atheist League!
Kill the table eaters! In the name of almighty science!
So what's the difference here? The punchline in South Park isn't atheists themselves and whether or not they believe in a god. It's poking fun at the idea that some atheists think that wars will just magically disappear if there were no religion, even though people will always find a reason to fight over something. It also makes a point that being a dick to someone who doesn't think exactly like you is not exclusive to religious people.
Jesus Christ!
You believe in a supernatural being.
He learned using logic and reason isn't enough. You have to be a dick to everyone who doesn't think like you.
Meanwhile, the punchline in this sketch is that the atheists are wrong, God is real, and he might just smite you if he's feeling petty enough, that bitchy queen. You know, at first I thought the whole Richard Dawkins, Mrs. Garrison thing in that episode aged really badly, but then Richard Dawkins outed himself as a TERF, so if anything, they kind of prophesized it. It did age badly, for the record. As much as I adore that episode, that aspect aged very badly. Alright, good bitches, are you ready for something really edgy? Somebody that nobody has the guts to joke about these days now that all these feminazis have taken over the world. The half-hour news hour goes gloves off and shows the world just how silly these feminists really are.
Congratulations. How far along are you?
11 months. But that does not mean that I cannot be a productive working woman and an asset to this society.
Gail, shouldn't you be on maternity leave now, or?
Why? Because pregnant women are hormonal head cases that can't be trusted to do a man's job. Oh!
The women in the lawsuit, these are transit cops. I mean, they can't be expected to chase down and tackle suspects if they're
pregnant. Study after study proves that the woman with child becomes more energetic, more alert, more...
What was that?
My water broke. See, a woman with child becomes powerful. Over 11,000 women were victims of maternal...
This interview is over.
Harassment. Get it? Because feminists are stupid. They don't even know what they're complaining about. Especially women of color. It's just their hormones going crazy or something. What do you mean you've never heard of this happening in real life? Wait, what do you mean these women only exist in the imaginations of Fox News hosts?
There's been an alarming spike in the number of reported male sexual harassment cases in the workplace, I'm afraid. Back rub to relieve stress.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Sexual harassment is calculated to control and demean your victim.
I am a victim.
Get it? Because men like being sexually harassed, and it's only sexual harassment if a man does it.
Starts out with the back rub to relieve the stress.
You know what?
Escalates from
We're
there.
out of time.
No, we're actually good, right?
Get it? Cause guys like it when girls do lesbian things, even though they're homophobic. I can't imagine why conservatives were restricted to AM radio and never had any late night slots. It doesn't stop there, folks. The half-hour news hour continues to serve biting social commentary on all the problems that plague our nation, like gun control.
The framers never imagined a world of assault rifles and Glocks.
This is literally a true statement.
It's around midnight. I'm standing in the middle of the kitchen. I'm poking around in the cabinets.
Yeah, I've been there. You hunting for a snack?
No, I was looking for something to trade for heroin.
Oh, see, that's the joke. He's pro-gun control, so, you know, that means he does drugs. That's what all the anti-gun people do, right? They're probably a bunch of drug addicts, and they're all dumb, and they do drugs.
And blam, blam! This guy in his pajamas opens up with a 38.
Guy? You mean homeowner?
There she goes again with that cringy, shit-eating grin she makes every time she really thought she ate that. I say this as someone who believes in responsible gun ownership. Do conservatives really still think that you can just blow a dude away Last Action Hero style and face zero consequences for killing a person, and we can't distinguish fantasy from reality? Okay, Mary. They also have a super cringy sketch about this too, where they just parrot the exact same talking points without actually making any jokes. In case you guys haven't noticed, which you probably have, this is just Fox News with a terrible laugh track. So what else was big news in 2007? The 2008 election, of course. And the half-hour news hour pulled no punches in spoofing all of the Democratic candidates of the era.
Illinois Senator Barack Obama admits that as a teenager, he sometimes used cocaine. This news sent Obama's approval rating among Democrats plummeting to an all-time low of 99.9%.
So how can you stay on the cutting edge of Barack Obama mania? By subscribing to B.O., Barack Obama Magazine.
B.O. Magazine. Really? That's, really what you guys are rolling with. It's what your writers came up with. They were attempting to pitch ideas, someone pitched this one, and you all said to yourselves, this is the one. Okay.
Barack Obama Magazine brings you in-depth profiles of Barack Obama, his family, members of his staff, and just random people who happen to be talking about him.
Oh. I get it. The joke is that it's very silly to listen to what Americans have to say, especially if they're people of color or members of the working class. How could they possibly have anything of value to say? just so silly. Boy howdy, is that sad excuse of a sketch wildly revealing of how they view the average American. But we already knew that. Remember John Edwards? Me neither, sort of. Here's a whole sketch about his hair for some reason.
So John Edwards is the most presidential looking of the bunch.
Just in terms of hair alone, this election is his to lose.
Does a candidate's hair really have any influence on a person's vote?
Oh yes, much more so than, say, soft, supple lips or dreamy bedroom eyes.
People think Barack Obama is pretty handsome. What would you do to change his image?
He should straighten his hair, grow it out a bit. He might even think about extensions. Look at that.
But Gabriel, that's just John Edwards' hair on Mr. Obama's head.
Really, I don't see that.
Oh my god. John Edwards' hair! Finally, a show that's ballsy enough to tackle the topics that the woke left is constantly censoring them for. It's just so funny, you guys. And then the reveal that in reality, this guy is just really gay for John Edwards.
You seem to be a little obsessed with John Edwards.
Obsessed? No. Impressed? Guilty.
Gabriel? Gabe?
I'm sorry, what?
He is gay. Being gay is so funny. Maybe that's why Republicans want to outlaw us, because they can't be funny themselves and we're just too much competition. As you can imagine, I'm currently very sweaty and I'm sure you are too, so I'd like to end this video on a couple of positive notes. The first one being that there was one sketch that made me smile. Not laugh out loud, but it made me smile. The premise is that Dick Cheney becomes the acting president for a few hours while George Bush goes to get a colonoscopy.
Acting President Cheney announces plans to launch a full-scale nuclear attack on North Korea. With a hearty laugh, he adds, "Just kidding." Acting President Cheney signs an executive order issuing a blanket "Go yourself" to Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid. With less than a minute left in office, Acting President Cheney pardons Phil Spector, saying, "Hey, anybody can have a gun accident."
So why does this one work, in my opinion? Because it doesn't take their politics seriously. Because Dick Cheney doing this was absolutely within the realm of possibility. Because it doesn't punch down on anyone, not even Cheney himself. It's just a funny, silly little sketch about a literal war criminal. Again, not a great sketch, but it was the only one that put a smile on my face. So this last clip is from the Reliable Sources segment on CNN hosted by Howard Kurtz. And when the premiere of the half-hour news hour was first announced, Howard gave it the warm introduction that it deserved.
Liberals have dominated the humor world for too long. The Hollywood left-wingers have been imposing their godless socialism brand of comedy, and it's time for that to change. The half-hour news hour debuted on Fox News last weekend, and it seems like a Foxian fantasy of the world as it might look if the liberal media weren't in charge.
And if you don't, we'll invade your countries, kill your leaders, and convert you to Christianity.
I love it when she repeats those words that prompted National Review to can her column.
Presidential candidate Hillary Clinton vowed that if she becomes president, she will surround herself with a diverse, multi-ethnic, multi-generational group of angry lesbians.
Now that's funny. And did you notice the slide? They get gays as well?
Vicious hate groups can march anytime they want to in these United States of America. I did that. I'm the ACLU.
Hilarious. And what a great laugh track. So take that, Comedy Central and Saturday Night Live. The left's monopoly on the comedic industrial complex has finally been broken.
I aspire to be this man. Once again, there's a much more qualified person making my point better than I ever possibly could. The half-hour news hour aired from February 2007 until its cancellation in September 2007, with 16 episodes total. That's not bad, actually. There are only 10 episodes if Zack Stone is gonna be famous. This show was Fox News' own participation trophy that they gave to themselves. And just as it was with An American Carol, another product of the Bush era that came out a year later, the overwhelming majority of conservatives did not find this show funny because it has nothing to do with politics and everything to do with taking yourselves so goddamn seriously. The reason the Dick Cheney sketch worked was because just for a moment, the writers had a moment of clarity and were able to look past their own worldview. They realized that it is, in fact, okay to laugh at and with the people who share their views. On the other hand, there's probably a big chunk of their audience that prefers clean humor, so they had to make sure to cater to that. And because the writers aren't actually good or clever, it means that all of the jokes are either going to be painfully inoffensive and milquetoast, or just cheap shots at pop culture that have already been done to death and will age terribly in a matter of minutes. And because they have the same politics and therefore understand what the conservative population is like, they probably assumed that a big chunk of them would be offended if they dared make fun of their own politics. The main reason all of their jokes about liberals and leftists don't work is because they don't know what liberals and leftists are actually like. They don't interact with them. They don't take the time to understand their politics or what they're like as people because they don't want to and they don't think that they have to. So they're instead just reduced to cheap stereotypes that haven't even been relevant in decades. The Daily Wire actually believes that that 60s and 70s era hippies still exist. When South Park satirizes liberals, at least in the ways they've been doing in recent years, they're not necessarily criticizing the politics and saying they're wrong, we're right. They're calling out the hypocritical and often selfish behavior of wealthy white people who tend to have more liberal politics. George Carlin did the same thing decades prior.
I'm tired of these self-righteous environmentalists, these white bourgeois liberals who think the only thing wrong with this country is there aren't enough bicycle paths. People trying to make the world safe for their Volvos. Environmentalists don't give a shit about the planet. They don't care about the planet. Not in the abstract, they don't. You know what they're interested in? A clean place to live. Their own habitat. They're worried that someday in the future they might be personally inconvenienced.
Because at the end of the day, those people and conservatives still support and benefit from a capitalist system that favors the white and wealthy and systematically oppresses poor people and minorities. They're the two demographics that the police actually bother to protect and serve, because the police are only interested in protecting private property and, most importantly, those who own it. So there's no reason for conservatives to lead a crusade against those people, unless it's the Hollywood elite or whatever they came up with because they're bitter they never made it in the entertainment industry. It's always the big bad BLM or DEI or any other shortened version of a legitimately good movement so that they sound less bigoted, or the kids using litter boxes in schools as a way to demonize trans people, even though the real reason for that happening was in case somebody needed to use the bathroom during a school shooting. You know, the ones they wouldn't dare bring up during one of their cringy gun control sketches. Anyway, that was a rant. Moving on. The biggest problem with the half-hour news hour, as it is with nearly every example of conservative comedy, is the fact that they wrote and produced it with the pre-existing notion that most viewers believe all of the same things they do and assume that they'll automatically laugh at it because they agree with it. This is the same reason conservatives tend to have low media literacy. They'll watch The Boys with the pre-existing notion that everyone else who watches the show has the same worldview as them, which is why they will then miss the point entirely. No wonder the writers for season 4 had to beat us over the head with their messaging. They didn't have a choice at this point. Okay, that's enough yapping out of the front of my head for now. I've said everything I needed to say, except for the winning comments from the last video. Casual Fox 12495 says, "More like QueenCokeFrancis. Am I right? Can I have some money, Russia? Fox? How appropriate." I See Your Sin says, "Every conservative lives in fear of me. Woke McWokester, woking all the games with my woke gay super autism fairy powers." And finally, Stork Sound Media 7778 says, "All thoughts live rent-free in my mind because I don't like landlords." You too could be featured in the next video. Leave a comment below. I will pick my favorite ones and give you a shout out next time. If you would like to guarantee your name being featured at the end of every video, please consider joining my Patreon. If you join any of my membership tiers that are conveniently named after Fallout protagonists, your name will be featured at the end of every video. You might get access to a lot of other cool things, like access to my Discord, behind the scenes content on how I make my wigs, ad-free and uncensored versions of my videos, community chats in my secret box. So if you love my videos and my drag, you can support this channel directly by clicking the link to my Patreon in the description box. If you would like to see me simp for my favorite game characters and get visibly frustrated in real time, please follow me and my beautiful co-producer Mitchell on Twitch. I stream most Sundays and sometimes Saturday afternoons Pacific Standard Time, and we are still raising money for the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. If you would like to see even more of my clown mug elsewhere, please consider following me on Instagram or TikTok. My handle for all of the above is at QueenCokeFrancis. If you enjoyed this video and you haven't done so already, please call up all your bestest buddies and pitch them your awesome idea for a sketch comedy show. The cameras start rolling, and then you realize in the moment that even though they were the funniest guys at the office, they don't actually have any real comedy experience. So, in an act of desperation, get those ratings you've been craving by going ahead and unzipping your pants and dick slapping those like and subscribe buttons as hard as you can. Thank you again to all my patrons and subscribers who have helped my channel grow and thrive the way that it has been, and of course, as always, until next time. Until next time.